Welcome back to Soft English Studio. I'm Emma.
And I'm Ryan.
We're so glad you're here with us today. Ryan, I have a simple question that might not have a simple answer. What makes a good day for you?
That's a harder question than it sounds. A few years ago, I would have said getting a lot of work done.
Really? Has your answer changed?
Quite a bit. I still enjoy being productive, but I don't think productivity alone makes a day feel meaningful anymore.
I know what you mean. I've had days where I completed everything on my list, yet I still felt strangely unsatisfied.
I've experienced that too. On the other hand, I've had ordinary days that weren't especially productive, but left me feeling happy.
That's interesting. What do you think made the difference?
Usually the small moments. A good conversation, a relaxing walk, or even having enough time to enjoy my morning coffee without rushing.
I can relate to that. It's funny how the moments we remember aren't always the biggest ones.
Exactly. Sometimes the highlight of my day is something I never planned.
Do you think our idea of a good day changes as we get older?
I think it does. When I was younger, I focused more on achievements. Now I pay much more attention to how I actually feel throughout the day.
That's an important difference.
It is. I've realized that feeling calm and present can be just as valuable as accomplishing something.
I like that perspective.
Me too. It reminds me that a good day doesn't always have to be an exciting one.
If you had to describe a really good day from the past few months, what would it look like?
Honestly, it probably wouldn't seem very exciting to anyone else.
Now I'm curious.
It would start with waking up without rushing. I'd have enough time to make breakfast, listen to a podcast, and enjoy a quiet morning before work.
That already sounds appealing.
Then I'd finish the most important task I planned for the day without constantly checking my phone.
I like that detail because being able to focus feels increasingly rare.
It does. After work, I'd probably go for a walk or meet a friend for coffee.
Nothing complicated?
Exactly. I don't think a good day has to be packed with exciting events.
I've noticed something similar. Sometimes I put a lot of pressure on weekends to be memorable, but the best days often happen unexpectedly.
That's true. Expectations can sometimes get in the way of enjoyment.
Can you explain what you mean?
If I expect every free day to be perfect, I'm more likely to notice what went wrong instead of appreciating what went well.
I've definitely fallen into that way of thinking.
Lately, I've been trying to pay more attention to simple things that make the day feel balanced rather than perfect.
Such as getting enough rest, having a meaningful conversation, or spending time outdoors?
Exactly. Those moments may seem ordinary, but they're often the ones that stay with me the longest.
I have a feeling there's more to that than we usually realize.
I think so too. Sometimes an ordinary day turns out to be exactly what we needed.
Earlier, you said that expectations can get in the way of enjoying a good day. Why do you think we put so much pressure on ourselves?
I think we often compare our days to an ideal version that doesn't really exist.
What kind of ideal version?
One where everything goes according to plan. We imagine being productive, relaxed, healthy, social, and happy all at the same time.
When you say it like that, it sounds almost impossible.
That probably is. Real life is usually much messier than our expectations.
I've noticed that if one small thing goes wrong early in the day, I'm tempted to think the whole day is ruined.
I've had that reaction too. It's surprising how quickly one disappointment can influence the way we see everything else.
Why do you think that happens?
Maybe because we stop paying attention to the good moments that come afterward. Our focus shifts to what didn't go as planned.
That reminds me of days when I'm stuck in traffic. Even if the rest of the day goes well, I sometimes keep thinking about that one frustrating experience.
I can relate to that. One negative moment can take up far more space in our minds than several positive ones.
So perhaps a good day isn't about avoiding problems altogether?
I don't think it can be. Unexpected things happen to everyone.
Then maybe it's more about how we respond when those moments appear.
I like that way of looking at it. A difficult moment doesn't necessarily have to define the entire day.
That's a reassuring thought.
It is. Sometimes a day improves simply because we're willing to let one bad moment stay small instead of letting it grow.
Do you think morning routines are the key to having a good day?
I'm not completely convinced. They can certainly help, but I don't think they're essential for everyone.
That's interesting, because so many people talk about the perfect morning routine.
I know. Sometimes it feels as though we're told successful people all wake up at the same time, exercise, meditate, and drink the same kind of coffee.
That image is everywhere these days.
It is, but I've learned that copying someone else's routine doesn't always work for me.
What works better?
Understanding what helps me feel calm and focused. Some mornings I like reading for a few minutes. Other mornings I'd rather enjoy breakfast without looking at my phone.
I can see that. I do think routines have value, though.
I do too. I just think they should support our lives rather than become another source of pressure.
That's a fair distinction. If we feel guilty every time we miss part of our routine, it probably isn't helping anymore.
Exactly. A good routine should be flexible enough to survive busy days.
I've also noticed that my definition of a good day changes depending on the season of life I'm in.
Mine does too. During stressful periods, simply finishing my responsibilities and getting enough rest can feel like a successful day.
While at other times, I have more energy to spend with friends or try something new.
Right. That's why I don't think there's a universal formula for a good day.
Perhaps the best approach is to notice what genuinely leaves us feeling refreshed instead of following someone else's definition.
I couldn't agree more. A good day should feel authentic to the person living it, not impressive to everyone else.
What you said about a good day feeling authentic reminds me of something that happened a few weekends ago.
What happened?
I'd planned a full day with a long to-do list, a cafe I wanted to visit, and a few errands around town.
That sounds well organized.
It was, but almost none of it happened. It started raining heavily, one of my plans was canceled, and I ended up staying home.
Were you disappointed?
At first, yes. I thought the day had been wasted. But later, I made a cup of tea, read for a while, called an old friend, and cooked dinner without feeling rushed.
That sounds like a completely different kind of good day.
It really was. By the evening, I realized I felt more relaxed than I had in weeks.
I've had a similar experience while traveling.
Really?
I once had a train delayed for almost 2 hours. At first, I was frustrated because my plans had completely changed.
I can imagine.
Eventually, I stopped checking the departure board every few minutes and just accepted the situation. I found a quiet place to sit, watched people passing by, and ended up having a surprisingly enjoyable conversation with another traveler.
That's funny. The delay actually became the most memorable part of the trip.
Exactly. If everything had gone according to plan, I probably wouldn't even remember that day now.
It's interesting how often our favorite memories come from unexpected moments.
Which makes me wonder if leaving a little room for the unexpected is part of having a good day.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but I think you're onto something.
If someone asked you how to create more good days, what would you tell them?
I'd probably start by making the goal a little smaller.
What do you mean?
Instead of asking, how can I have a perfect day? I'd ask, what's one thing that would make today a little better?
I like that question. It feels much less overwhelming.
It also gives us something we can actually control. We can't control the weather or unexpected problems, but we can choose how we spend part of our time.
I've started doing something similar. At the end of the day, I try to think of one moment I'm grateful for, even if it was something very ordinary.
Has that changed anything?
I think so.
It reminds me that good days aren't always made up of big achievements. Sometimes they're built from several small moments that we almost overlook.
I've found it helpful to protect a little time that isn't planned too carefully.
That's interesting. Why?
Because if every minute is scheduled, I don't leave much space for rest or spontaneity. Even a short walk or a quiet cup of coffee can make the day feel more balanced.
That makes sense. It sounds less like trying to control every detail and more like creating space for good things to happen.
That's exactly how I think about it now.
And perhaps the best part is that none of these ideas require a dramatic change.
Right. They're small choices that can fit into everyday life, which is why I think they're much easier to keep coming back to.
After everything we've talked about today, I keep coming back to one simple idea.
Which one?
A good day doesn't have to look impressive from the outside to feel meaningful on the inside.
I like that. We spend so much time chasing extraordinary moments that we sometimes overlook the ordinary ones.
And those ordinary moments often become the memories we treasure most.
That's certainly been true in my experience. Some of my favorite days weren't carefully planned at all.
Mine weren't either. They usually involved simple things, like a good conversation, a peaceful walk, or finally feeling present instead of distracted.
It's funny how our definition of success can change over time.
It really can. I still enjoy accomplishing things, but I no longer think a busy schedule automatically means I had a good day.
I feel the same way. These days, I pay more attention to whether I felt connected, calm, and grateful.
That's probably a healthier way to measure the day.
I think so. It reminds us that we don't have to wait for a vacation or a special occasion before we allow ourselves to enjoy life.
We can notice what's already around us.
Exactly. A warm drink, a kind conversation, finishing something important, or simply having a quiet evening can all matter more than we expect.
And perhaps that's the biggest lesson I've taken from today's conversation.
Me too. Good days aren't something we discover once in a while. They're often built little by little through the choices we make and the moments we choose to appreciate.
I couldn't think of a better way to end today's discussion.
Neither could I.
Before we finish today, let's go over some useful expressions that came up naturally during our conversation.
Great idea. The first phrasal verb is come back to. Near the end of our discussion, Ryan said, I keep coming back to one simple idea.
Come back to means to return to a thought, topic, or idea after thinking about other things. For example, I keep coming back to the idea of learning a new skill this year.
Native speakers often use this expression when an idea stays in their minds or feels especially important.
Our second phrasal verb is end up. Emma mentioned that she ended up staying home after her plans changed.
End up means that something happens in the end, often differently from what you originally expected. For example, we planned to go hiking, but we ended up watching a movie because it rained.
Now let's look at two useful collocations from today's conversation.
The first is pay attention to. We talked about paying attention to how we actually feel during the day instead of only focusing on achievements.
For example, I've started paying attention to how I spend my free time. It's a very common expression in both everyday conversations and the workplace.
Our second collocation is go according to plan. We used it when talking about days that don't always unfold the way we expect.
For example, the meeting didn't go according to plan, but we still found a good solution. Native speakers use this collocation frequently when discussing plans, projects, trips, or everyday situations.
What's nice is that all four expressions appear naturally in today's conversation, so you've already heard them in context. That makes them much easier to remember and use in your own English.
We've already covered two phrasal verbs and two useful collocations. Let's finish with one natural expression that came up in today's conversation.
The expression is on to something. Near the end of the discussion, Emma said, I think you're on to something.
If you're on to something, you've discovered a good idea, or you're beginning to understand something important.
For example, you might say, I think you're on to something. Maybe the problem isn't the schedule. Maybe it's the way we're planning our time.
Native speakers use this expression in friendly conversations when someone makes an insightful observation. It's a natural way to encourage another person's thinking.
Since today's conversation didn't include any suitable everyday slang, we won't force one into the lesson.
Instead, let's reinforce another expression you already heard several times. Feel meaningful.
We used it when talking about what makes a good day. For example, helping a friend made the whole afternoon feel meaningful.
That's a useful collocation because native speakers often talk about experiences, conversations, work, or relationships feeling meaningful, rather than simply good or enjoyable.
At this point, we've covered 6 expressions that all appeared naturally in today's conversation. Come back to, end up, pay attention to, go according to plan, onto something, and feel meaningful.
Those are exactly the kinds of expressions you'll hear in real conversations, so they're well worth remembering.
Before we wrap up, let's quickly revisit what we talked about today.
We started by asking a simple question: what makes a good day? As our conversation continued, we realized that the answer isn't always about being busy or accomplishing more.
Instead, we kept coming back to the idea that small moments often matter the most. A meaningful conversation, a peaceful walk, or a quiet cup of coffee can completely change how a day feels.
We also talked about how plans don't always go according to plan, and that's perfectly normal. Sometimes we even end up enjoying a day more because something unexpected happened.
Another idea that stayed with me was paying attention to how we actually feel, instead of judging the day only by what we achieved.
And when Emma suggested that leaving room for the unexpected might be part of a good day, I remember thinking she was really onto something.
We hope today's conversation encourages you to notice more of those ordinary moments that can make life feel meaningful.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us here at Soft English Studio.
Keep listening, keep enjoying your English journey, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Take care and goodbye.